Hi, I'm Leo, and welcome back to episode 6 of Rediscovering Ashina, the Sekiro playthrough, Lorethrough, and retranslation project where I go through the game, translate the object descriptions and the dialogues from the Japanese into English, because I have some issues with some of the choices in translations that they made during the official translation of the game. Try to go over the details of the cultural background that inspired the creation of Sekiro's story and setting and all of that, and try to have fun while doing that. Last time, which from my point of view was yesterday, I don't know exactly how long it will take me to make these two videos back to back, but yeah, for me it hasn't been that long. We defeated Juzo the Drunkard, the boss of the bandits to attack the Hirata estate, which is currently still on fire, and on a meta level it was definitely one of the episodes where I had the most trouble with, both because I didn't really play super well, so it took me a long time to beat Juzo, and also because I messed up and lost some of the recordings, had to redo that, had my controller run out of battery halfway through, so basically it was not a good recording session at all. Very much hope that this time is going to be better. So, other than advancing beyond the point where we defeated Juzo, I also died enough time to trigger a special important event, which is the first signs of the Dragonrot illness that befell Ashina, and specifically the Sculptor and the old lady who gave me the charm that brought me here. That event has unlocked a ton of new dialogues and especially of descriptions and story stuff, which is of very much interest to us as translations. At this point, they would have already translated some of the stuff that we encountered last time, but there is a bunch of new dialogues and things that I can do now, which I like to do before we continue on for this episode's proper topic, because there are going to be a couple of things that I need to do now if I want to witness rather than later. So, last time we left without speaking to the Sculptor about his new illness, so let's correct that. Even though it feels like he's doing pretty well.
どうした竜がよ、よどみのあふれで振りまかれ、やがて死に至る病じゃ。なんだとわしのことなら心配いらん。あいにくとまともじゃないんでな。じゃが喋るのは面倒じゃ。あとはエマに聞け。あとは
Okay, never mind. He's not doing well. I thought he would be over here just coughing to himself, but he seems to only cough when we try to speak to him. As of now, at least. Poor guy. So let's ask Emma about what this Dragonrot entails.
物資殿には会われましたか？
ああ、あれは。
はい。我が師道元より聞いたことがあります。龍院は海星の力を授けることができる。しかしそれは常ならぬ力。繰り返せばやがてよどみがあふれ、関わった者に病として降りかかる。その病を竜害と呼ぶと知りながらそれを止められなかったは私の不明です。すみません。
その竜害を治す術は
わかりません。ですが突き止めねば。まずは死の残した記録を当たってみます。
頼む。
竜害を治す術は必ずあるはずです。まずは死の残した記録を当たってみます。
Okay.
では また。
So, a bad illness which seems to be connected to us, which therefore it wasn't a coincidence that this happened because I died too many times, basically. Stagnation is an important concept in Shinto, which I will go over when the time is due. And yeah, it's integral in understanding what is going on here. And also, this is an interesting gameplay thing. The main thing that this does, as we've seen, is that as more people get ill, unseen aids, so the percentage that determines how likely it is that we do not lose anything when we die, goes down. So the more people get ill, the less... Oh, dog. The less probable it is that we are going to be okay. Nice. We're going to be okay when we die. And it doesn't really do much else, except if I remember correctly, certain NPCs stops functioning when they are ill. So it is important that we find a cure. Mostly for story reason rather than gameplay reason. It's not that game breaking, but it can be annoying. Originally, I think there were traces of what the mechanic was supposed to be like that I need to go over, so maybe I'll have something interesting to say at the end of this episode about that. But I think what originally the plan was is that this was the way for NPCs to permanently die if you messed up too many times. And I think I am assuming it was scratched because it was a little bit too punishing or hard to balance. But I'm not sure about that. That is my current speculation. Again, I hope I'll have more information. Ooh. Well, not going to venture there. Hopefully you're going to stop attacking me. Nope! I'm really sorry, old lady. Hope you're okay. Okay, yeah. Okay-ish.
竜が行こ
う。犬すけ。犬すけや。
はい。
若様はお守りするんじゃぞ。
はい。
頼むぞ。そなたにかかっておる。
I'm being attacked. Yeah, I really like the voice acting in these sections. The way they cough is honestly kind of upsetting.
咳が聞こえる。母上。母上。何故この足は動かぬ。
This poor guy. Honestly, Wolf, you could just carry him there. He's 2 steps away. You're way strong enough to do that. Yeah, poor guy. Not the most lucky person ever, and this is a bad situation. Also, since he's already in bad luck, he's not going to complain about this. I can showcase a thing. Remember in the description of the sword, of our sword of Kusabimaru, there is the shinobi's right to kill, but even our shinobi must not forget mercy. We cannot hurt him. Important NPCs cannot be hurt, and it's not every NPC, which is interesting. It's a crucial little difference. For example, the looter that we find at Hirata, he is not indestructible, he's not impervious to damage. We can attack him and kill him for absolutely nothing. He doesn't give us anything. But these NPCs are immortal. And other than just gameplay reasons, especially like Inosuke doesn't have any gameplay reason why he shouldn't survive. It doesn't give us anything or serves any purpose except for talking to the mother, about the mother really, not to her. I feel it's more of a mindset thing for Wolf. That we cannot kill people that serve no purpose in killing, I feel like. So the looter is a looter, he's a bandit. He's not immune to us just slaughtering him at that point. Wolf wouldn't hesitate, but these people Wolf wouldn't kill. Again, compared to other games of From Software, this is a much more character-driven narrative where the protagonist has a clear, distinct personality. Also, Emma is not here.
何をしている？
ああ、あなたですか。流害の調べのため、仏師殿が吐いた血の塊をいただいていたのです。
血の塊？
はい。咳とともに出たものです。血の色がわずかによどんでいるような。しかし、これだけでは定かには。
できることはあるか？
流害にかかった者が吐いた血の塊。それがもっとあれば、より詳しい調べをできます。
流害にかかった者がいれば、当たってみよ
う。お願いします。では、また。
Her saying goodbye doesn't change.
お前さんも来たのか。にぎやかなこって。
仏師殿。
いらぬ心配よ。あいにくと竜害ごとき。
And this is the same as well. And now I can actually showcase a thing, which I think I tried to do before.
それで十分。ありがとう、少女。
エマよ。ジジイの吐いた血なんぞ、どうするってんだ。
流害の調べを治す術を探りたいのです。少女、あなたのためでもあるのですよ。
そうかい。だが、いらぬ世話だ。こんなもんは自力で。
さて、見せてもらおう。流害の血よ、お前は果たしていかに病を起こす。
道元、エマのやつはやはりお前さんにそっくりだぞ。
I really like these dialogues, the intimate dialogues that you get between them. And now we know the real name of the sculptor, who is apparently called Orangutan. Which tell us a few things, actually. First and foremost, the fact that this has the name of a monkey is not surprising, considering that in one of the first episodes we discovered that Emma refers to the person who is employing her as a friend of the monkey. So now we know who the monkey is. And also, there is a specific kind of people that we know that have names of animals. Our protagonist is Wolf, his father is Owl, and this person is Orangutan. And he gave us, he has the shinobi prosthetic, he gave us a book of ninja techniques. So yeah, in case it wasn't clear enough, there is a good chance at this point that we can assume that Orangutan used to be a ninja himself, and the name convention is respected in that he also has the name of an animal. And also confirms the fact that the X was his X, because that was the bounding monkey and Orangutan. Wow! I was trying to have a little lore talk here, damn you. Okay, come on. Ooh. Okay, this is good training, so let me kill this guy. Oh god, so many of them. Bad, bad, bad. Ow. Okay, yeah. This is not exactly... Oh, come on, self-targeting thing. This is not great. I apologize. This is not the greatest performance. No, please. Okay, okay, okay. This was my warming up. Come on. Come on. Come on, you coward. Okay. Was that a tutorial enemy and that's why he did like that? Well. Other than being just slaughtered by normal samurais, was still much easier than the bandits because they fight fair. So they're easier to predict. Dragonrot blood sample. Blood sample of a Dragonrot victim. Contains stagnated blood. Emma can use this to find a cure for Dragonrot. In original, this is not a blood sample, but a blood clot. And this is not a differentiation for just this item, this happens every time a blood sample is mentioned, whether it is Emma that mentions it, or the item itself, or every other place, it's always a blood clot. A blood clot is, in very simple terms, a coagulation of blood inside the body, which can impede the normal flow of blood and provoke serious problems, making it very in keeping with the theme of stagnation that is overarching in Sekiro. The translation itself is overall correct, but the original goes into a little bit more detail and describes the clot in these terms. Those who are afflicted by the dragon cough, so the dragon rot in Japanese, have mixed in with the things they cough up some stagnant colored blood. I find it fascinating that the blood is described as stagnant colored, because that's a very vivid description, but it doesn't really tell me much about the color itself. Do you have anything more to say, you miserable man? Nope. Still just agonizing. Poor bastard. Yeah. Well, now we are one step closer to the cure at the very least. Emma is going to be interested in this. Oh yeah, also I was telling before being rudely interrupted by people shooting me in the back and then cutting me to pieces. Another interesting thing that Emma mentioned was that she was finding the cure also for his sake, which can either be taken as because, well, he has Dragonrot, and that's the easy explanation, but also maybe she's referring to something else, some other condition. After all, the Sculptor, Orangutan, told us that he is not normal, he is not afraid to die of the Dragonrot, that is not enough for him to kill him in his mind. Also, by the way, I have a lot of skill points. Can I get something nice? Let's see. Shinobi's Karma, which increased the maximum number of spirit element that can be held. With that Deflection, which is pretty cool. Run a Slide, which is fancy. and suppress presence. How much is this? 2. I'm going to choose the Nightjar Slash this time. Acquire the combat art Nightjar Slash, a spinning leap attack that can quickly close or create distance from foes. A technique of the Nightjar clan, the shinobi who serve Ashina. The Nightjar use the weight of the massive shuriken to add force to the blow. The shinobi prosthetic is made of heavy steel and can be used in a similar capacity. The term translated as Nightjar is an interesting one in Japanese, as it is a play on word which is completely lost in translation. A nightjar is a nocturnal insectivorous bird which has species spread all around the world in temperate climates, and it's also sometimes called a nighthawk. The Japanese term for it is Yotaka, which literally means nighthawk, and the name of this ninja clan is an obvious reference to that, as it is also pronounced Yotaka, but with the first kanji being different and twisting its meaning into something like a collecting hawk or a delivering hawk, so as to underline their role in espionage and covert operations. So a pretty cool name for like a gang of ninjas and stuff like that. The translation is overall accurate, it just has the little added detail of specifying that the giant shurikens are the clan's specialty, but it is an important one for filling in a little bit of a narrative gap in a way later part of the game, so just remember this, please, that the fact that the shuriken has the same weight of the prosthetic is a very interesting coincidence, to say the least. This skill is very important, because what I will ask now, and I will have a definitive answer later, is the question of why is the skill of the Nightjar ninja in this skill tree, in this tome of techniques, which is the shinobi prosthetic technique. Because this description tells us that we can use the shinobi prosthetic in the same way as the shuriken. But why is it here? Why is it a technique in this book? What is the connection? We haven't encountered many Nightjar except for the one, in case the illustration that didn't make it clear, those are the people that kidnapped Kuro and all of the end. We found scattered dying outside of Ashina, Hirata estate, sorry, and also on whose corpse we found the shuriken. But what is the connection between them and the prosthetic and the sculptor who gave us the prosthetic? We're going to find an answer to that in time, which I feel is pretty cool.
Oh, Kami dono. よく参られました。
手に入れた。
血の塊ですね。見せてください。物資殿のものと同じように血の色がわずかによどんでいる。だがこれは、
足りるか。
おそらくはこれで流害の調べを進めます。また戻った時に解を得ていること、期待していてください。
Very cool.
いただいた血の塊で流害の調べを進めます。また戻った時に解を得ていること、期待していてください。
Yeah, okay.
では、また。
またね。Let's go. Still die. Cool. Oh yeah, also, let me actually showcase this ability, because beyond the fact that I just like it, how did I... Yeah. I like this ability, it's the reason why I took it. This is a nice way to enter a fight. It's a nice preemptive strike kind of thing. With one skill point, can I take something else? I can take the runner slide, which is also something that I like to have. Allows one to slide into a crouched position while sprinting through an area to slide into cover or otherwise out of view. This maneuver easily deceives an enemy's eyes. I like this because it allows me to do this. Now I'm hiding, which is very useful if I want to run away, which is probably going to happen. So, do I just reset with rest? I think I need to travel to proc that. I cannot travel directly here. Maybe I can trick the game without having to travel twice by doing this. Don't want to have to go through 2 loading screens. But yeah, now she seems to have found a cure of some kind, or, well, to be on the cusp of a breakthrough thanks to the blood that we gave her.
待っていました。
わかったのか。
はい。解を得ました。流害の源。それは血のよどみです。
何故血がよどむ。
あなたはたとえ海星の力が尽きていたとしても、いずれ蘇っています。代わりの力をどこかから奪っているのでしょう。
流害になったものからか。
おそらくは流害になった者は人が人として生きるための当たり前の力を奪われています。故に血がよどむのでしょう。
どうやって直す。
奪ったものを返せばいい。これを受け取ってください。
Dragon's Blood Droplet. An item that is rarely dropped by divine hair of the dragon's heritage. I like the use of the word dropped there. Using it will slightly increase resurrective power. Restore the power of life to those who have been drained of it by offering this drop to the Sculptor's idol with the recovery charm in hand. In turn, all afflicted with Dragonrot will be healed. The incessant coughing must cease. And the recovery charm. A Dragonrot recovery charm created by Emma. With this charm, one can offer a Dragon's Blood Droplet to Sculptor's idol to restore all afflicted with Dragonrot back to health. The charm contains a Dragonrot's victim blood, which Emma managed to purify and solidify into a bloodstone. Starting from the Dragon Blood Droplet, its name is not exactly wrong, but it loses in English its naming convention, which is, the term Dragon Blood is, in Japanese, the exact same that is usually translated as Dragon Heritage, using therefore blood as lineage or heritage rather than just the liquid. So this is the Dragon Blood Droplet, but it could also be translated as the Dragon Lineage Droplet or the Dragon Heritage Droplet. Similarly, the verb drop is not wrong, this is a droplet after all, but maybe the term spill would have been more appropriate. This is because this item is what happens when a divine hair bleeds, in every way. We do not know if it is Kuro's blood or another past divine hair's blood, but this is their blood specifically, and it is apparently the source of the power, so it indicates that the power of the divine hair is at least partially contained in the fact that they have this very, very special blood that turns into a stone when it falls out of them. Moving on to the charm is an omamori, which is a traditional good luck charm used both within Shinto and Japanese Buddhist context. These are sealed cloth pouches, usually filled with wood or paper, inscribed with prayers of good fortune, and are a very popular and commercial kind of charm, usually distributed by Japanese temples and shrines. The name omamori is just the verb mamori, which means to protect, preceded by the honorific o. The description is mostly correct, but a final line is missing. This roughly reads, "This bloodstone acts as a signpost to determine who should be cured." This I take to mean that the power to heal resides in the droplets, while the role of the charm is to indicate the target for the healing power, in this case the material contained within the blood that was purified into a stone, that is then dispelled all at once from the land of Ashina. What is curious about the charm is that the term bloodstone, both in English and in Japanese, doesn't really mean what the game uses it for. An actual bloodstone is a type of quartz that is formed naturally due to whatever complicated geology magic makes gemstone in the first place, and it's not derived in any way from blood. The name is just because it kind of looks like blood. The process to turn blood into a stone is only referenced in a couple of other places in the game, and is never fully a natural one, being rather connected to exposure to the powers of the dragon heritage and the fountainhead itself. Anything else?
狼殿、よく参られました。
Ah, she's back to normal.
かつてアシナに 流害が広まったことがあったと言います。その時は治すことが叶わず、助かるものはなかったそうです。
そうか。
我が師道元の悔い、わずかでも晴らせたのならば良いのですが。
Interestingly enough, and this I can already say by just listening to the dialogue, it is specified that the regrets that he's talking about here is Dogen's
か
regret.
つてアシナにその
Did
時
I miss it?
そうか。
我が師道元の
Nope.
悔い。
They just didn't translate the part that it was Dogen's
Yeah.
regret.
Ma-
The recovery charm allows Dragonrot software to be healed. Yeah, cool, great, fantastic. Let's do that then. Dragon Restoration menu is now unlocked in the Sculptor's idle menu. Let's do this. All afflicted with Dragonrot have been restored to health. What a fantastic little animation that is. I love the aesthetic of this game. Anything to say?
仏師殿の流害、治ったようです。
ああ。
これを仏師殿に渡してください。
Ashina Sake. A bottle of Ashina Sake given by Emma. Sake is a drink meant for sharing. While it does not contain water from the fountainhead, it is made from the purest of waters and is a drink beloved by the people of Ashina.
これは。
あの人の好きなお茶です。回帰祝いに良いでしょう。
So this introduces to the fact that sake items can be given to NPCs, to specific NPCs. And we have found another sake item, if you remember from last episode, the unrefined sake dropped by Juzo the Drunkard. So we have those as well.
狼殿、
Anything else? Yeah, and we can give drink to her as well.
かつてアシナに
Okay, that's the
そ
same.
我が師。では、また。
I can already spoil this, but there is enough of the items for all the dialogues and the special things that can be unlocked using those. So there is in the game, there is a way to give sakes to all people.
できた。
そうか。まったく、世話焼きやがって。わしが掘るほど結構、お前それで。ではな、ま。
Yeah,
お前さん。
okay.
では、ま。
I'm going to do the sake. I'm going to give both of the sakes that we have to him after I progress a little bit in gameplay, because this entire first section of these episodes has been just running back and forth, healing people that I accidentally killed by dying too much and absorbing their life force. So not that interesting to watch. So now I'm going to go back, talk with the old lady, see if she has anything to say after being healed, and then we're going to progress. See if I can do this sensibly. I swear, either Wolf is like a tank, a battle tank in terms of weight and just momentum, or... Oh! Okay. Oh, come on, you shoot much faster than the guy with the arrows shoot arrows, which is just not how rifles are supposed to work. Ow, ow, ow! Jesus. Oh, come on! Okay. Oh, I thought I procced the animation, but I didn't. Ah, I'm being flanked. They attack me from the side when my guard doesn't cover. Hello. This is why I like this skill. Oh, come on. Great. Well, she's back on her feet.
Inosuke,
Oh. Nothing else, nothing new. Just back to business as usual. Okay, yeah, they're just back to normal, nothing. No comment on almost dying of Dragonrot. Cool. I would be offended by the lack of gratitude, but I did get them sick in the first place, so I feel like it's okay. I will forgive them for not being overwhelmed by gratitude at me healing them. By using an interesting item, which I really hope is going to have interesting stuff in translation. So let's go back to where we were. Okay, so let's proceed with exploring the area that we cleaned last time, and I really hope it's going to be devoid of 3000 bandits. Now that we've defeated the boss. And you might, all of you, well, not all of you, but people who are a bit attentive and like to follow through the logic of the areas and everything will be asking, like, we defeated the boss of the bandit, the person who was leading the bandit that got hinted at beforehand, Juzo. So, what can we find after him? What else is there? There's a lot of bandits. Where did the guy go? Where the hell did the guy go? Everyone respawned, but where did the samurai friend go? Did you just leave? Did you just leave? Ow. You absolute bastard. Did the samurai leave? Did they kill him? Oh well. Okay, come on. Okay. This is dumb. I got stunned by the arrow, got distracted by this guy. I'm wasting cures, but it's all good, it's all great, it's all funky. Where is the archer? There you are, you sweet little boy. Whoop, missed him. Damn staircase. Actually, now I have the perfect tool for engagement. Come on, come on. There you go. Come on. There you go. Everybody line up. There is something for everyone. Bring your shield. You bastard. Nice. So before we enter this part proper, let's see what's around, shall we? Because we can move around, which unfortunately is not going to be very rich in interesting thing, except for that little chime, which is, honestly, I think this is a really ingenious choice of level design, because you see the little shine in the wall of a drop behind that wall, and that is going to be significant later. There isn't anything else here. We can go back here, but we cannot really do anything. We just observe that there is something behind this wall. And we also need to do like a long way around, which is a bit annoying, but I will keep my patience. If we go inside this place, the samurai just completely disappeared, didn't he? Oh well. If we go inside, nice. Was this the guy? I hope not. We enter a truly lavish mansion. This was clearly the main residence. There are a lot of scattered corpses around. And we see an item over here. More dowsing powder. Again, I feel like this... Then yeah, this is a pattern. I am convinced now. The dowsing powder was here because this is a place with books. This wasn't the bandits. This was a emergency. Oh, there are people. I'm sure they're going to be friendly inhabitants of the place. Come on. Oh, don't ruin the paper walls. I'm trying to keep these places in... Oh, you bastard. Well, did the same. Very stylish. So anyway, what else is here? Yeah, more places with books. Lots of books. More medicinal pellets scattered around this place. I heard a whimper. But before we investigate the whimper, I want to see if there is anything else over here. I cannot go through here, yes, right? Yeah, no. These are solid paper walls, not like the other people. I mean, these are like wooden, beautifully painted, lacquered, I think, walls. It is just... I love this place. But I don't love this place specifically. I really like this style of internal decoration. I think it's really pretty. We see there is an idol, and there is a... Well, there is a person, but there is also a shiny, so let's get the shiny first. Another Mibu Balloon of Soul, which we got last episode as well.
フクロウのせがれか。わしは恐ろしきものを見た。湧き出てくるのじゃ。次から次へと。とめ殿、とめ殿。若様。若様がお屋敷の奥に。わしのせがれが。伊之助が向かったゆえ無事と思うが。はぐれ忍びよ。念のためじゃ。お主も若様をお救いに行っておくれ。
Yeah, this is the old lady. It's her.
恐ろしい。湧き出て止まらぬ。若様がはぐれ忍びよ。若様を。
She doesn't seem to be, she doesn't seem to be okay, but she doesn't seem to be as addled as later, when she cannot even recognize us. But it is her, and she mentions Inosuke, her son. This is the Hirata audience chamber. Can I get any skill? I have 1 point. I can get the Mida deflection, and that's it. Yeah, let's get it, why not? Mida deflection allows one to guard against or deflect enemies' attacks in Mida. Guns and other projectile weapons deal additional damage to airborne targets, and this technique can serve to prevent that damage. A shinobi is not shot down so easily. This is useful. It's a useful little thing. Now, before we proceed, before I rest, that was spooky. There is another shiny here, which is oil. And you might wonder, why is there a shiny here? And like, from a level design perspective, this is just a way to attract the player's attention, right? To this interesting wall. Because, as an added hint, if we go outside and we check over there, even if we explore the mansion, the shiny is still there. The shiny is still there. There is more to this mansion. More to the left, but where? I mean, I don't think there is any more mystery since of how I introduced the place at this point, but yeah. Secret passage. Secret tunnel. With interesting things. A Mibu Balloon of Wealth. A little secret alcove for someone to hide in, perhaps. With some treasures, some prayer tools. This is the shiny that we saw from outside that led us here, or gave us more hints, which were more divine confetti. And finally, over here, we have... I need to destroy this, right? Yeah, okay. We have a chest. And inside the chest, a prayer bead, which we now have 4 of. Which is, coincidentally, the number we need. Exactly the number we need. To finally put them to good use. First Prayer Necklace. Loose prayer beads strung together in offering to a Sculptor's idol. Increase maximum vitality and posture, which is great news. A prayer bead necklace befits the strong. The ferocity of Ashina's army is renowned throughout the nation. Its generals are especially talented, every one of them accomplished in the Ashina sword style. The translation of this item is mostly correct, but there's just a couple of details I want to go over. Firstly, the name itself, while accurate in translation, is weirdly following a different naming convention than the normal prayer beads, which I covered in episode 3. The beads refer to the necklace as an ojuzu, while here this is specified as a nenju. These two terms means pretty much the same thing as far as I can tell, with the only difference that the term from nenju uses the kanji for wish or desire rather than number, which is the one used in Juzu. All of these items that we will find in the game share mostly the same description except for the last part. This description is again accurate, with the only extra specification being that the necklace is made out of the beads, which I feel like it's understandable in context, so I understand why they omitted that. In the unique text for this item, the only extra little tidbit is that the Ashina sword style was developed by Isshin, as this is specified in the original. But yeah, otherwise, not that interesting of an item, but a fun little extra in terms of lore. These items is how we will get little extra tidbits on the things we see that we do not get from any other item, and I think that's pretty cute, that's pretty nice. Pardon. Enhanced physical attributes. So, I can tell you now, that in case you didn't know, that every time we get a full prayer beads necklace, that's what it's called, they will have different description which fill in setting details. Also, this guy is known as a very... How long does it take to shoot an arrow? Just die, please. This guy, you can grind him forever. It's very funny. Actually, let me do it now, not because I want to grind him, but just because I want to actually refill before I speak. To the guy, which is there, dead on the ground, in the same exact posture as Inosuke is when we meet him in the present day. From which we can surmise that Inosuke was a poor bastard, always.
そなた、若様の、この先へ行くのは、やめておけ。恐ろしき現実よ。種ならしがなければ、破れぬぞ。これを、わずかだが、そなたに託そう。
Snapseed. Fume word seed that make a loud noise if you snap them, useful for breaking the effects of illusion techniques. If an illusion occurs, it is because someone created it. To crush the phantoms and return to reality, one must defeat the creator of the illusion. Snapseeds can be a great help in that regard. The original plant is the incised fumeworth, which is a species native to Japan. I found very little info on the eventual symbolism, the cultural usage, or the reality of the seeds being particularly noisy, so I don't really have much to say about this item. If anyone has more details on that and wants to share it, I would be super happy to hear it. But otherwise, the translation is pretty accurate, so not much else to say. Bit of a redundant description, isn't it? But yeah, interesting, a really cool sprite.
種ならしがなければ、あの現術は破れぬぞ。森役の務めと勇んでみたが、このざまよ。平田は姉妹じゃ。母だけでも逃がさねば。
Yeah, poor guy. His eyes have been slashed out, or maybe he slashed them out. He did speak about illusions, so... And his mother seems to have never recovered from this. He still feels like she told us that Inosuke went to save the young master and therefore everything was okay, and now she still thinks that we are some helping the young master. Doesn't seem to have processed well this night. And in this hall, in this little room, there is a secret passage. Okay. Bit too much suspense. With someone standing in the middle of, well, a room on fire, but an interesting room. Lots of sculpture, Buddhist sculptures, and a huge Buddhist sculpture on the other side.
Miko様、現実か。
久しいな、フクロウのせがれよ。
お蝶殿、言ってください。
そなたは
なすべきことをなすのです。
わかりました。
さて、やろうか、せがれ殿。
Well, this is ominous. Okay, yeah, give me this tutorial now. The lower one vitality, the slower the posture recover. Yeah.
お蝶殿、何故。
さてな、惑わば死ぬるぞ、せがれ殿。
So, this feels more like a boss, doesn't she? But she only has one health bar, so couldn't be as bad as Juzo now, could she? Other than being just absolutely beautiful. Ow. Come on, you little ninja person. Ow, ow. I missed the timing on that. Yeah, as you notice, I am a bit more relaxed right now. For no real reason. I just feel better today, I guess. It's also because I really like this fight, actually. This is very fun. Ow. Ooh. She's cool.
やるじゃないか、せがれ殿。
Look who's there. Illusions.
ならば我が幻に窓へ。
So this is interesting. Woo! And that is bad. So these guys are really hard because I cannot block them. They are illusions after all. And also she's got new projectiles that are also illusions that I cannot block, but they do damage me. Just running around. And those are dangerous. Oh, no. Okay, this is fine. It's fine. I can use the pillars to block them, but they damage me, and I cannot dodge them. Well, I cannot block them, sorry, I can dodge them. You bastard, stop chip damaging me. No, jump, not then. Ooh. Ow, I got distracted by how pretty the butterflies were. God damn butterflies. Why do I... Oh, because I already used one. Okay. Whew. Ooh, lock that! Good on you! Uh-oh. Hi guys. Hello. I think... Yeah. I can technically one-shot them, but it's not super duper worth it. Because I can just hold out until they're gone. Also, she's leaving me alone, which is very useful. No. Oh, come on. Yeah, so they're dangerous. Okay. Get away from me. Wait. Go. Okay. Oh, that's not fair. Almost done. Come on. Come on.
Udeを上げたね、狼。
Memory, Lady Butterfly. The baffled memory of an extraordinary foe lingering in the mind of the wolf. Commune with the Sculptor's idol and confront memories of battle to permanently increase attack power. The Phantom Lady Butterfly was a seasoned practitioner of illusions. And the Sakura Droplet, pale pink crystal residue known to form when an immortal oath fails to establish. Increases resurrective power, allowing one additional resurrection. To repeat the vows of the Undying and then be awarded resurrective power once more surely necessitate the aid of a divine child of the dragon's heritage. Starting from the memory, memories in Japanese are all called Tatakai no Kyoku, which means memory of battle or recollection of battle, and that is how it is referenced in the first line of the English description. The original name for this boss wasn't just Lady Butterfly, but Illusion Butterfly with an honorific before the word butterfly, coming together as Maboroshi Ocho. I get why they went with Lady, as the honorific is neutral in Japanese, but doesn't really have an easy equivalent, so Lady is fine. And in other parts of the translation, they use the term Phantom rather than Illusion, which is pretty fancy. All of the memory items have the same description except for the very last line. Most of this is accurately translated, but there is some lost nuance. What was translated as lingering in the mind in English was Shinjuni Ikizuku, which has the strongest meaning of living within one's heart or one's innermost thoughts, and denoting how this encounter is now indelibly scarred in Wolf's mind. There is also a bit of wordplay in that the verbs that in English are translated as communing with the idol and confront the memories of battle, both could be translated as facing, using the original term. Only with the idol, it's meant in the convivial sense of sitting across someone, so the term taisa, while with the memories is in the confrontational sense of facing an obstacle, so mukiao. But yeah, you could use the term facing in English for both of them, and that's how it's also used in Japanese. It's just a little bit of mindless fun, I guess. Lastly, the unique bit for this description is overall correct, but I can go into a little bit more detail on the term practitioner of illusion, which in turn is Genjutsu Tsukai, which is a pretty common term in Japanese pop culture. Genjutsu literally means art or craft of illusion, and Tsukai is just a user, a practitioner. So the English term is correct, but it's a bit more stiff because it's not as much of a thing as it is in Japanese in general. Moving on to the Sakura Droplet, I would have really loved for this item to have some extra secret detail lost in translation, but there just isn't much. The name and the translation and the description are all pretty accurate. There is a little bit of nuance lost in the fact that Japanese is a bit more precise and specifies that this droplet is formed in the place of the immortal oath when this doesn't succeed. The fact that it is in the place I found very interesting because it's not just some extra residue, it's the shape that the oath takes when it doesn't take root, it feels to me. And the fact that it is a droplet connects this, in my mind, much stronger to the Dragon Blood droplet, and makes me believe that when an oath is being performed, the blood of the divine hair is like different and used in a different way, and that's why it produces this, rather than a normal droplet. And yeah, that the blood is involved, exchange of blood is involved when an oath is being performed. I'm going to go over later at the end of the video on what I think happened here, but yeah, I find this item fascinating and I really hope that I could say more about it, but there we are. You have defeated an extraordinary foe who can now be faced once again in memory. This doesn't mean, unfortunately, that I need to beat her again, it means, but yeah. This is how we get stronger, by defeating bosses.
私のためそなたは戦ってくれた。捨ておくことなどできるものか。狼よ、我が血と共に生きてくれ。
Is it done? Is the cutscene done? Yeah. So many skill points. Yeah! That was the same line we heard when we first died and resurrected, so that was a memory of that time, when we actually got this power. Somebody stabbed us in the back with a huge sword. Mysterious person, mysterious opponent. And we gained this power. And then that's where Kuro was taken from us, we lost our purpose, we fell into despair, unable to die, but thinking that we have failed, we have lost our father, we had lost our master, everything was over for us, until Emma roused us from our slumber. Interesting stuff. There is a lot there. There is a lot that I won't talk about, but I think I'll leave that for afterwards, for after the video when I translate the dialogues of the cutscenes and all of that. But yeah, why was Lady Butterfly there? Oh yeah, also, I don't think we know exactly who she was, do we? Let's confront that memory. Enhancing attack power. And yeah, they added this in a patch where we can now refight previously fought boss. But let's not do that. But yeah, I'm pretty proud of myself. Beat first try. Remnant, Lady Butterfly. The battle memory of an extraordinary foe, although distant recollection of such a memory provided us. Oh, okay. Sorry, it was a weird sentence structure. Although distant recollection of such a memory provided sustenance for the wolf, it's a past tense. The Phantom Lady Butterfly was appointed by the wolf's foster father as one of his mentoring shinobi techniques. These mentors employ strict methods. The cultivation of shinobi techniques can only be achieved in the midst of battle. The original term for the remnant item follows the same convention as the memories, being the remnant or residue of battle, so the Tatakai no Zanshi. The rest of the general description is pretty accurate. The original making it more clear, the wolf seems to have consumed the memory somewhat, leaving only dregs behind, which evokes this cool image of him meditating long and hard, playing the battle over and over and over in his mind until all of the lessons learned through it were interiorized. As for the unique portion for this one, for the Lady Butterfly one, the line "these mentors employed strict methods" is very loosely translated in English. The Japanese read something like, "These might be called mentors, but they saw no reason to teach in an easy and patient way," with the last line being the same as shinobi techniques can only be taught in the midst of battle. This line, together with Lady Butterfly's demeanor, make it sound like her trying to kill us for real was nothing new in hers and Wolf's master-student relationship, and besting her was proof that her tutorage was finally complete. And now we have an increased attack power. Lots to say. Why was Lady Butterfly there? Why did she betray us and attack Kuro and took him hostage? Why did she have the droplet that we found? The Sakura droplet. There is a lot of nuance in the dialogue as well, which we'll talk about later, but lots of questions for now. Not many answers, but a little bit of connection. Anything else? No. Oh yeah, the drinks. Actually, I'm going to leave the drinks for next time. I have more than enough to translate already, and I want to tease you all for a little while longer.
お前さん、どうやら古い記憶が目覚めたようじゃな。
ああ、巫女様を見た。
そうかい。司祭は聞かぬし、語りもするな。見えたものは己のうちに留めておくもんじゃ。
仏師殿はそこの仏で何かが見えたのか。
お前さん、人の話を聞いてたか。
どうなのだ。
炎じゃ。
炎。
ええ。何を備えようともそれしか見えん。一面の芦名を焼き尽くすような炎。
それは
この話はしまいじゃ。
Yeah, ominous, isn't it?
わしが掘る方をお前それで。ではな、また。
And with this, we have officially completed the Hirata estate. With only one thing, actually, which is a very small thing, but it is, I feel, a nice way to conclude. If we go back there, to the Hirata audience chamber, there is a little extra tidbit. So I played quite well against her. I played very badly against other enemies, but I played very well against her. I remembered how she worked pretty well, and she's very fun to me to fight, so I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Oh yeah, I never get to use that. What that would have done was whenever she summoned all the little minion illusion minions, that would have killed them all instantly. Which would have been useful, but I didn't need it, so I didn't remember to do it. Also, this statue fell. We saw it fall, but it didn't here for some reason. But yeah, the room is very interesting. There is a lot of Buddhist sculpture. This seems to be the same Jesus statue that we saw before. I do not know if that... Well, not just the Jesus statue, because there are also these statues. I don't know if that is just a case of reuse assets for convenience, or if they're symbolic in some way. I will need to check. There is this huge, important statue, which I hope I will find more details on. Lots of faces and a jar. Interesting, there is a jar of... I want to say water, but I actually do not know what is contained in the jar. In a place that is on fire, but yeah, and there is a Sculptor's idol, which is the hidden temple of the Hirata estate. And with this, I leave you. I hope you enjoyed this episode where we didn't do much progress, but we did get a bunch of dialogues and new items and things to translate. And I hope you enjoy the after playthrough conversation that I will commence now, because all of the dialogues, etc. I will do afterwards, as usual. And yeah, I hope you will have a good night, and I'll see you in the next one. Good night, everyone. Welcome back, and thank you for sticking around until the very end. I personally am pretty proud of this video. I thought it was very nice. There was a lot to see, a lot of especially the setting and the story progressing all around. There were lots of dialogues, which I personally enjoy, but I understand that that's like a preference, but also the gameplay portions. I had fun with them, and I thought I played pretty nicely, especially against the boss. I showed off what she could do, and I also just didn't die, which is pretty good. So, all around, a nice video. Very proud of myself, which is fitting because I have to announce that I will probably go on a little hiatus. I don't know exactly how long, because I'm moving to a different country pretty soon, and that will halt a lot of the things I have here at home that allow me to make this video with more ease. So I have no idea when the next video is going to be releasing. I maybe will have time to do another one before moving, but considering my schedule, I do not make any promises, and in that case, if it does come out, it's going to be a nice little bonus. On the other half, I wish to thank Erick Gondo, my favorite viewer and almost only one at this point, because he has given me a wonderful document with all the dialogues in Japanese and in English, which has made the process of making this video so much easier, you have no idea. So thank you very much, Erick, for all the work that you did in the past and all the things you've given me. They have been super appreciated, and I wouldn't have been able to do this video as well as I did without you. So thanks so much. With that said, I'd like to start talking about all the things we saw, starting from the dialogues and then moving on to the little details that we encountered during the video that I didn't already talk about in the video itself. So let's begin. The dialogues can be neatly divided between the ones regarding the Dragonrot and the ones about the ending of Hirata Estate. And so the way that I will tackle them is that I will go over the Dragonrot ones first, and then I will talk about what my understanding of the Dragonrot as a phenomenon inside the universe of Sekiro works, And then I will move over to the Hirata estate, and I will instead, at the end of that, talk about what I think happened there with the information that we have right now. So I will probably go over it in the future when we have more information about the past and all of that, but I think it's good to have an initial summarization of the information we have so we can talk later better about the story as we discover more information about it. As I think that one of the best things about this game, if you tackle it in this way, is how the information is slowly revealed to the player to create an overarching narrative. Now, there are a bunch of dialogues, and a lot of them are just accurately translated. I don't have any more insight on them than what is already presented from the English translation. For example, most of what Inosuke and the old woman have to say is just correct, nothing more there. You can assume that if I don't go over a dialogue here, it's because the translation is already accurate. I shouldn't have forgotten anything. So if you don't see a chunk when I go over all of the dialogues, then it's just because that one is perfectly okay and I won't need to spend any more time remarking that it's perfectly okay. With that in mind, let's start with the Dragonrot ones. The first of the Dragonrot dialogues is the one with the Sculptor when we learn that he is sick. There is a common recurring translation thingy that happens a lot during the game that is an instance in this dialogue, which is when in English the term stagnation is treated as a big deal, as an esoteric capitalized term, while in Japanese it is just understood as being a form of physical and spiritual impurity, as it is one of the basic tenets of Shintoism. I think I mentioned this in a previous episode, but I urge everyone more interested to inform themselves properly on the subject. In general, the translation is not wrong, there is just a difference in tone, which is the fact that Japanese Sculptor is much more irreverent in the way that he describes his symptom and his condition. For example, the phrase "I'm not normal, you see," in Japanese translates something like "I must apologize, but there really isn't anything normal about me." Keeping the same tone, his next sentence is not that speaking is difficult, but annoying. In general, it feels like the Sculptor is not one to complain or willingly show any sign of weakness. He just accepts everything that happens to him as not being worthy of consideration, either his own consideration or the one of other people. I would say especially the one of other people. Moving on to Emma's dialogues, in general her translations follow the same logic as that of the Sculptor, being that they are overall correct, but with a couple of small differences here and there, and mostly a very different sense of the tone. In general, I found that the English Emma's dialogues regarding Dragonrot felt very artificial and self-recurring and a little bit repeating. While in Japanese she feels much more natural to me in the way that she expresses things, and similarly the way the wolves react to things feels more natural to his character. So assume that whenever Emma speaks about stuff in Japanese she sounds much more professional and medical and thorough, and Wolf just replies in half sentences and barely uses language at all if he can help it. Now, with that introduction to Emma's translation in mind, let's go over in a sort of loose chronological order all the little things that have been changed in the translation. Firstly, it doesn't specify that it's those who don't have the power that become sick in this dialogue, but rather whoever is caught in the overflow of stagnation. Since the stagnation originates from the one who uses their regeneration, this means that whoever is in contact with Wolf specifically is first at risk of being infected, and probably that if it keeps up, it would keep spreading to involve more and more people. So it gives us an idea of a sort of flooding of stagnation and the Dragonrot illness originating from Wolf specifically. Then, every time Emma states that she collected a blood sample in English, just assume that it's a blood clot. As I said during the translation of the blood sample, in Japanese these are all blood clots and not samples. Another recurring difference is that in English, the color of the blood will sometimes be stagnant and sometimes tainted, while in Japanese it's consistently just stagnant. Stagnation is reinforced over and over and over, and there is no synonym for it. That's the concept that we are trying to hammer in the head of the player, so it's very important that it's always stagnant and nothing else. Then, when Emma describes how the blood functions, she doesn't say that it draws its power as much as it's still an alternative power from somewhere else, which is a much more violent description. The way she describes the effect of Dragonrot is similarly more violent, with the energy taken from the people afflicted not just allowing them to function as human beings, but to be humans in the first place. Basically, the way she describes the process of regeneration in general is very violent and bad and stealing things that is not its own and corrupting and perverting the natural order of things. Then, as I mentioned during gameplay, in the 5th dialogue we have with her, it is not specified that the regret that Emma hopes to have alleviated was Dogen specifically. In Japanese it is very openly specified that it was Dogen's regret that it is alleviated. This is actually not due to a mistranslation, but to a cut line of dialogue, which I've discovered thanks to Erick Gondo giving me all the dialogue lines in the game, which in English was already translated as "Dogen, my late mentor, regretted this deeply," and then it would just proceed with the rest of the dialogue that we got. I do not know why that line was cut, but there we have it. And lastly, in the eavesdrop in general is accurate. I find it very sweet and very well translated. The only extra tidbit that I can add is that the term Gigi, which was translated as old bastard, is basically just a rude way to refer to an old person, which shows once again the dismissive attitude that the Sculptor has towards everything and especially himself. But yeah, I really like this eavesdrop. It's very intimate and it showcases the tenderness between Emma and the Sculptor, which, yeah, I really like. So being that all the extra information we get by retranslating the Japanese dialogues and comparing them to the English translation, let me go over the way that I personally understand the functioning of the Dragonrots in the universe. This is my interpretation, of course. You are free to make your own. Actually, I advise you make your own, but just to share a little bit of personal interpretation with the word. So, a person that makes an immortal oath with the divine hair becomes unable to die. Whenever they should die, they instead draw from the power of dragon lineage that they apparently took in as part of the oath. This power is great but not infinite, as it seems to originate from the life force of everything that surrounds the Oathbearer. It gets replenished by killing others, for example, or by resting, which probably just sucks it out of the environment in a small way or something like that. Rot. Life and blood are very much connected in the Sekiro universe, so when a person's life force is stolen beyond what their body can sustain, their blood begins to stagnate and creates clots, making them slowly suffocate as their normal flow of energy in their body halts. The divine hairs themselves seems to possess an incredible amount of this life essence, to the point where their blood acts weird and crystallizes the moment it gets out of their body. This blood seems to be the only possible treatment for Dragonrot, as it can be consumed to restore the stolen life essence, but it doesn't prevent the Oathbearer from taking energy again in the future. In conclusion, it seems that this oath is more a curse than anything else. It keeps the bearer alive no matter what, stealing from everything living around them as much as it needs, and I have the bad feeling that this applies to every cause of death, including illness or old age. As proven by Wolf losing an arm, it also doesn't prevent pain or misfiguration, it only kicks in when death is involved. While definitely useful in the short term when in a dangerous situation, I feel like in the long run this would only lead to a terrible state of unending torment, because it doesn't seem to be a way to actually remove this oath once it's established. Being now done with the Dragonrot stuff, I can now move on to the final section of the Hirata estate, and the dialogues we found there, including and starting with the old woman and Inosuke, two of my favorite characters, not really, which unfortunately have very accurate translation for their dialogues. The one that really breaks my heart is especially the old lady, because I would have loved to find out more of what she's talking about, but there really isn't much more context. The only little details that I found about the dialogue was, firstly, that she didn't have a vision, like in a mystical sense. She just saw something awful with her own eyes, and she's trying to describe what she saw. And the second thing is that she also calls us a stray shinobi, like the samurai outside, so this seems to have been common knowledge amongst the people who worked at the Hirata estate. I will return to what I think the old woman saw once I go over my theory on what happened here, but for now let's move over to the dialogues and the cutscene that we get once we enter for the first time the secret temple, which is overall correct in terms of translation, but has a couple of lost nuances that I want to go over. Firstly, Kuro doesn't state everyone is gone, he asks where did everyone go, which is a very small difference, but a difference nonetheless, and so I wanted to point it out. But the second and most important part, which is a little bit lost in translation, is the way in which Lady Butterfly refers to Wolf, which is segare, a very polite way to say son. In the context in which she uses it, it also feels very patronizing, like she doesn't recognize Wolf as his own person, but only as the son of someone she respects. As an example of this, when she invites us to fight, she doesn't call us son of owl, like it's translated in English, but segare dono, which is just an excessively and mockingly polite way to say son, something like Mr. Son. This alone, I feel, tells us a lot about the personality of Lady Butterfly, considering that she's not a character that really exists outside of this boss fight. So yeah, I really like it as a little extra detail that will pay off later in a small way. Finally, I just want to underline the sentence "do what must be done", because, while it is well translated, there is nothing wrong with the translation there, but it is a very, very important line that will come up very often in the long-term psychology of these characters, and so I just wanted to point it out right now. To conclude with Lady Butterfly, most of the battle dialogues are accurate, but there are some extra characterization tidbits which are lost in translation, and I really want to squeeze all of this character that I can get, because there just isn't very much of her and I quite like her. Firstly, when she tells Wolf, "You'll die if you doubt yourself, boy," in English, what she's saying literally in Japanese is, "You will die if you get confused or if you get lost," and then calls him Segare Dono again, Mr. Son again. When she comes back in full force at the top of the statue, she uses the sentence "lose yourself in my illusions," which is a direct callback to getting lost and dying, meaning that she fully expects us to die now, she's done playing and now she wants to kill us for real. There is also a little bit of what I think is wordplay when Wolf defeats her. In English her line is "you have gotten strong", but in Japanese it's literally "your skills have increased". Only, the kanji for skills is the same as the kanji for arm, so this technically could also be read as "your arm has gotten better", which feels a lot like a pun. Finally, this is a thing that is perfectly understandable in English as well, but with the added context of the segare and how mocking she was all this time and calling us this very specific way that indicates that she only sees us as the son of someone else, I find it very, very cool. Then the last thing she does before dying is finally calling us Wolf rather than Segare for the first time, and it is, I feel, the first time in the entire relationship that she does this, so that was a very cool way of ending a character which we have seen for so little, but in the narrative of the game must have been a very important person for Wolf personally. And finally, the dialogue we have with the Sculptor once we come back from Hirata and talk to him about the visions that the Buddha can show us. This is, again, mostly accurate, nothing particularly noteworthy to find here. The only real difference is that Wolf doesn't just ask what the Sculptor saw, but more specifically, did you see something as well in that Buddha, as if he just realized that that was a possibility. But beyond that, there are the usual small differences in demeanor which are conveyed more through tone and specific choice of words than any outright difference in translation. If you just follow the English subtitles, the Sculptor seems brusque and irritated by the questions, while in Japanese, even if the meaning of his words are pretty much the same, he mostly feels sardonic, tired, and sad. He's not offended that Wolf is asking, just finds talking about himself distasteful and very painful. This all contributes to a general feel of the Sculptor as this tragic figure filled with self-loathing, which generally doesn't feel like there is anything worth in him to share, and is not as much angry at all these other people trying to pry into him and take care of him somehow, but is mostly under the impression that nothing good will ever come of interacting with him. Now, with all this said, what can we deduce that happened in Hirata using all the information that we have? This is my personal information, and while I will try to mostly use things that I've shown, I have the benefits of hindsight in a couple of things that I will not mention here because they are spoilers for information that we'll get later, but this is how I would surmise everything that we have for now into a cohesive narrative at least. So, Lady Butterfly was a ninja, who are usually employed by someone else, and since we got stabbed in the back, there was definitely someone else involved here that we haven't seen yet. In this attack we also found bandits, who after storming the castle were just keeping guard outside the door, 3 mercenary monks specialized in killing ninjas, and a single ninja of a different clan for all the others that we found for now, surveying the operation from the 3-tiered pagoda. It seems to me that so far the most probable explanation for what happened here is that a very influential third party, powerful enough to employ all of these different independent agents, was trying to coerce an immortal oath out of Kuro and cover it up as a fortuitous bandit attack. The plan seems to have been to use Lady Butterfly's illusion to trick Kuro into establishing the oath, I assume with her, but potentially with someone else, but this failed for unknown reasons. This might also explain what the old woman saw that traumatized her so much, that is, the failed attempt at establishing the oath, which probably involved Kuro doing something freaky with his blood or something like that. Wolf's involvement at this point is a bit hard to understand, mainly because it's not clear if he was supposed to be here at all or if his presence was an unknown hindrance. Similarly, him being killed and brought back immortal might have been the clever plan B of the mastermind of this whole operation, or just a happy accident. We're going to find more answers in the future, but for now we at least can gather this much from the information we have access to. Having dealt with the dialogues, I can now move on to the last 2 things that I want to talk about. Firstly, the estate itself, and especially the architectural style that we find inside the mansion of the local lord, and secondly, the secret temple itself and the statues contained therein, which are all inspired at the very least by actual Buddhist iconography, and so I want to share what I think that means. So, starting with the estate itself, the general architectural style of this area is that of the Azuchi Momoyama period, which I learned something about thanks to a video sent to me by the invaluable Erick Gondo, which I have linked in the description. While I'm sure there are a lot of interesting analyses that could be done by observing closely the general architecture of the game, I'm, as usual, really not the right person for it, and it would be impossible for me to distinguish between deliberate historical nods from the part of the developers or choices made just out of a sense of style with no deeper meaning behind it. As such, I invite anyone with cooler and better informed insight in architecture to come forward if you'd like, and I will just include the video and a couple of cool things that I found out watching it relevant to this section of the game. Firstly, this part of the mansion that we find at the end of the Hirata estates is the mansion's main hall, or Hohiroma, where the master of the house met with his guests and vassals. That can be recognized by this little step on the back, which divides the room into a higher and lower level. The highest ranking person, or sometimes persons, in the room sits in the highest level, while everyone else in the lower one. This means that if the master of the household is having as guest someone more important than them, the master would sit on the lower level and leave the higher one for the guest. I thought this was neat and I want to share it. A potentially more interesting detail is the decoration style present in the mansion. Art in the Azuchi Momoyama period was divided into 2 different phases. An early one characterized by bold colors, mainly gold and blue, and detailed natural themes, and a latter one with more subdued colors, introspective feelings, and traditional markings. The decorations found in the Hirata estate are definitely of the first phase, and since I'm operating under the assumption that the game is set somewhere between 1596 and 1603, this would make it somewhat behind with the times. Which wouldn't be surprising if Ashina had been mostly cut off from the rest of Japan for a long while. This might be an example of overthinking on my part, but if this was a deliberate choice to make Hirata feel more old-fashioned and out of style in the historical context of the game, that would also be quite cool from the part of the developers. At the very least, this gives us an idea of what architectural style to expect from now on in the world of the game, a standard against which to contrast any significant deviation that we might encounter in the future. With that said about the estate architecture, let's move on to the statues, and there is a lot to say about them, so bear with me for a while. Before I begin this section, I wish to stress that Buddhism is a very old and very real religion, which is very important to a lot of people living right now, and I am not a Buddhist scholar in any way. All of my analyses or insights are based on internet research from sites that I think are pretty accurate, but are definitely not a replacement for really knowing the religion, so I want to make it very clear that my intention here is to not say anything about the real Buddhism, but in trying to understand how Buddhist mythology and symbolism has been used by the developer to convey themes and story inside Sekiro. So I will be treating real statues and real symbolism of real religious concepts as kind of fantasy world building things, but I want to stress that there is a division between that, and it should be taken as such. With that said, let's move on to the statues themselves. First, these medium-sized cross-legged ones are all definitely of Jizo, with the bald head and the monk robes, which makes them very recognizable. I talked about Jizo in episode 4.5, so you can look for more details over there, but I can't find an exact match as to the specific posture and what it means, which is not helped by how damaged all the statues here are. The closest thing I could find is this style of representation of Jizo, which had the role of assisting women to have an easy pregnancy, but is not a complete fit. Like the statues in Sekiro are fully in the lotus position, so cross-legged rather than the half lotus of the style that I found, and the robes I think are a bit different. It's not a perfect match. In general, all the statues here on the sides seems to be of Jizo, which as the protector of children makes me believe that this place was built to pray for Kuro's safety, maybe even as the place where his mother gave birth to him, or where he spent most of his official time as the divine heir. Now let's move on to the centerpiece of this room, the giant statue at the back. This one depicts the Bodhisattva canon, specifically her Jewish man incarnation, that is, the 11-headed version of it, with its own unique symbolism. Canon is the Bodhisattva of compassion, and the single most popular Bodhisattva in Japan as a whole, which makes her very complicated to analyze, as there are a lot of different interpretations of her. Canon is often feminine in representation, so I am referring to her as a she, but as with all Bodhisattva, she also has a male side, so you might find her referred as a he other times. It's all complicated. Generally speaking, Canon's role is that of the embodiment of the virtue of compassion in all of its form, being tasked with the protection of the 6 Buddhist realms of reincarnation and that of children, which is a role she shares with Jizo, which makes it unsurprising to see the two of them together here, but with Canon as the most important one, as she is a more prominent figure overall in Buddhist religion, especially in Japan. Her Juichi-men depiction, which is the 11-headed version we see here, is connected to esoteric Buddhism, which as far as I understand is the version of Buddhism that we find represented mainly here in Sekiro, being the more overtly mystical of the many subsects that the religion has taken. There are a bunch of possible theories for the significance of the 11 heads, but the most probable one in this context is that of every head representing a stage in the path towards Buddhahood, making this statue a symbol of enlightenment and esoteric mystery. The small standing figure on the top of its crown is called a Kebutsu, literally a transformed Buddha, probably of Amida, the most popular form of Buddha in the Pure Land esoteric tradition, which was a very popular form of worship during the time Sakura is set in. And it is a very complex topic, and I do not have time to go into it right now, maybe in the future video if it comes up again. Its presence represents that Canon here is an emanation of Amida himself, and therefore a symbol of hope and ultimate salvation. The last important detail I could determine is the huge vase held by the only visible arm of the statue. The vase is a symbol of health, longevity and purification often associated with canon, which in the context of Sekiro connects this room with the worship of the fountainhead waters originated in Ashina before the advent of an outside religion like Buddhism could take root. So what does all of this mean? What was the purpose of this room? What do the statues tell us about the role of this place that we found ourselves in? What follows is my personal interpretation, but I invite all of you to make up your own mind on what is going on here. But, in short, being this a secret temple, this room was for me probably a way for the Hirata family to keep the divine hair hidden from the rest of the world and simultaneously to worship him as an incarnated god or something like that. The statues suggest both auspicious protection for children, so as to keep the hair safe from harm, but also a direct connection to the Buddha Amida, linking the divine hair to a superior state of existence, and to water as a symbol of purity and purification. This feels to me like a synthesis of new and old worship practices, of integrating local faiths such as the water and the hair himself, with the more widespread Buddhist belief, and specifically Pure Land Buddhism, brought into Ashina from the outside Japan. Considering how widespread the knowledge of who the divine hair is and his importance is across Ashina that we have found so far, I think this is a fair representation of what the current religious system looks like in most of Ashina, this synthesis of local folkloristic practices and of mainstream Japanese Buddhism. And this was it for this video. I want to conclude by sharing something of interest, which is going to be even more relevant since, again, I don't know exactly when I will be doing videos again. A fantastic translation blog called Shetani's Lair that Erick Gondo, in his grace, passed me, is also doing translations of a bunch of Sekiro stuff. The first post released right now being about the Sugars and Spirit Falls. To my great relief, what she has found is not that different from my own interpretation, but the person managing the blog knows Japanese much better than me, and so provided a couple of extra details that escaped my notice. Firstly, Misen Temple is apparently never called a temple really in Japanese, more like a religious organization or something like that. I honestly don't know the significance in the setting of that, but for clarity's sake I thought I'd report it anyway. Secondly, the term Spiritfall has gotten even clearer now in my head, being also translatable as something like acceptance of the spirit, or as I sort of translated it, invocation of the spirit. It basically indicates being possessed by a supernatural entity that grants special powers, but by also exact some kind of cost on the body of the possessed. I have linked the blog in the description, so please go read that, and I'm sure she will keep posting new and interesting stuff that might cover things that I've already covered or completely new stuff as well. And with that said, thank you so much for following until the very end of the video. I hope to be back soon, but until then, stay safe and have a very good night, everyone.